Good morning and welcome to Morning Coach Today. I am so glad you're with us. Hey, it's Jimmy, back again. If you're listening on the podcast, back again. If you're watching on YouTube, first time I've ever done this. I don't even know if it's going to work. People are probably clicking off already. I'll get those comments. That good morning is horrible. That's okay. I can handle it. Hey, I just want to tell you and welcome you to Motivational Mondays. Basically, what is going on is it's actually been 16, 17 years ago, 2005, 2006, I started the Morning Coach podcast, helping people get their day started right with energy. And it had a tremendous amount of success, top 25 in the world. We had a lot of fun with it. It continued to grow. I built a great life because of it, wonderful clients, and a wonderful community of great people. And then over the years, I wasn't making a ton of money back then between 2006 and 2009, but we did build a website, build a landing page and a website back with MySpace. Literally, you just go on MySpace and say, hey, go listen to this podcast. And we ended up putting 13,000 people in a website, probably one of the first membership sites ever in the web back in 2007, 2008. You might have been one of those. If you are, leave a comment below. If you're listening to the podcast, obviously you can't comment, but you can go over to the YouTube/Morning Coach channel and watch this if you want to. If you're one of those people, please leave a comment. But we ended up with 13,000 people, and really we weren't making any money, or I wasn't. We had a team, ended up developing websites. That's how we survived. But in 2009, my dog Chaos passed away, and I decided, you know what, I need to change things up. And I built one of the first subscription podcasts ever on the internet called Morning Coach. And we had 1,321 people come with us. Back then, it was $20 a month, and that literally changed my life. And what we did then in 2009, we went to the Monday free podcast, and then if you wanted the rest of the week, you would go, buy morningcoach.com. And that has been working and still is. We have our Ignite and Freedom programs, which is going great. But we went from 40,000 downloads a day to 2,000 to 3,000 downloads a day. And over the last couple years, we've noticed a downtrend of the Monday podcast, because obviously we have to sell. That's the business, right? To get people over into the other show. But what happened was, as that was happening, I'm like, let's stop doing the Monday. But then I decided, let's try it again. So where we're at now is we're going to try the Monday again and put great energy out and really help people get motivated to get their week started. Put it up on YouTube as a Motivational Monday YouTube video and help people. So this will be the first one and the only one where I explain this. The rest of them will just go right into the good morning and then into the show. So if you're listening to this, welcome back from the podcast. If you're watching as my YouTube group, which is mostly tech, people that are watching tech reviews, hey, welcome. If this is the kind of content you like, hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. But we're going to get into the content. And basically, I've got my paper device here. This is what I keep my notes on for my shows. And we're going to talk about today being the expert and get your week started with you really understanding this dynamic of being able to create freedom by being an expert. Okay, being an expert is really important in the fact that there's a couple reasons we want to be. As you gain expertise, you gain skills. And if you've listened to me any time before, I'll tell you that when you have talent and you match skill to it, that's when genius comes out. And sometimes you don't know what talent you have until you start doing a lot of things. For example, right now I'm going through an Evernote expert training productivity system to add that skill to be able to bring to my community and the Get It Done Now program that I teach, the Ignite and Freedom program. So I'm working through this. It's extremely challenging. It's not easy, but I'm going to be an Evernote expert and work with them and be able to get knowledge from them of things that are happening. They have 250 million users. So that expertise is going to work for me. Maybe not directly generate compensation, but indirectly add value as I can teach people how to use Evernote here on YouTube or via the podcast or within the framework of my systems. So that's one way. The other way is I'm working on my pilot's license right now. I want to buy an aircraft and be able to travel. For those of you who don't know, I'm in my lake house that we're gonna tear this down and remodel that. We're gonna do that here on YouTube, and I'll explain it on the podcast for you too. But we're gonna be redoing this whole entire house. But I'm here now, and I'm making it livable through the summer and doing these videos and trying to get through as we get going until I can get the studio back built up and we're good to go. But as I get my pilot's license, I want to be able to fly back and forth to Florida. And you say, well, JB, that doesn't make you an expert, but it does. In that I learned the language of the pilot community, and it puts me in a whole nother category of a whole nother group of people that I can work with. Years ago when I was growing up, I wanted to be an archaeologist, and my grandmother and grandfather took me to the LaPorte County Public Library to see this archaeologist, and it was awesome. I wanted to be Indiana Jones. I mean, this was the 1970s, early 80s. He was from Northwestern University, this professor, and he came in and he pulled me aside. I was one of the only young people there. I was probably 10 years old, so it was probably 1979. 9 years old, 1978. And he pulled me aside and said, hey, JB, I'm going to teach you one thing that will serve you the rest of your life. And he said, learn a little bit about everything, because he said the key to being an archaeologist is not being an archaeologist. Anybody can be an archaeologist and go dig up bones. To be an archaeologist, you have to be able to generate money. That's where you're going to really be able to go out and do the digs that you need to do. And I took that to heart. And over the time, I'm not an archaeologist. I consider myself a life archaeologist. I've studied, why people are here, and did my PhD in metaphysics and started to understand kind of, why people are doing what they do. So I consider myself kind of an anthropologist, archaeologist a little bit, studied the history of people. But I didn't turn into an archaeologist. But I took that part that I needed to learn a little bit about everything. The more that I could speak the language of other people, like golf, for example, what a birdie is, what an eagle is, I'm able to relate to them, and more than likely they're going to connect with me more than if I'm not an expert. So being an expert is important, that you're continually learning. Now, this is what's critical. I want to tell you that in order to generate revenue and to get excited about life, and I'm talking about in your job and things that you do, you don't have to be the black belt. I'm going to use martial arts as an example. When you go through a program that has a belt system, like I have my Get It Done Now program, which has a belt system, you start with your white belt, and then you go to your yellow belt, then you go to your orange belt, then you go to your green belt, right? All the way up to your black belt. And the truth is that the yellow belt, as an expert, a lot of times can do more for the white belt than the black belt can. Why? Because the black belt is so far ahead of it, and the yellow belt is back here. So being that yellow belt is actually being an expert. So the key to being an expert is just helping somebody up one step of the ladder, and that's what's going to help you. And so a lot of people have this disease, especially in the United States, that I have to know everything. Teach me the advanced stuff. Well, the truth is, most success comes from the fundamentals. Michael Jordan didn't become the greatest basketball player ever by missing layups and missing free throws. He became clutch. He hit that mid-range jumper better than anybody. And the reason was because he had the fundamentals down. If he can't dribble, just because you can dribble between your legs, if you can't dribble, it's going to cause problems. And actually, everything comes back to the fundamentals. So as we become an expert and we start working through things, that's one of the things that we want to do, is we want to understand that. The other thing that happens when you become an expert is you have what's called the halo effect. And the halo effect is pretty cool. This means once you're seen as an expert in one area, you're going to be viewed as an expert in other areas. We call it the halo. You know, the angel, you put the halo on, right? So people are going to respect you more because you can solve their problems. And they're going to come to you with other questions because they see you as an expert. For example, I do obviously technology reviews, and I've been doing technology for years with this podcast and now this YouTube channel. And so I always get the call, specifically from my mother. I love her to death. She's the best. But she'll call me and say, well, why isn't Facebook turning on, right? And there's that halo effect. She thinks I'm the expert in all things technology. I have no idea how to get Facebook working, right? So the idea of the halo effect is pretty cool, and it's something that can help you. You're going to add value to people's lives by getting more skills and being an expert. Specifically, if you're looking for more compensation, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working at a job, you are going to get more money coming into your life, because basic economics is this. Business is just solving a problem and getting compensated for it. The level of the problem you solve, the deeper the level of the problem, the more you're going to get compensated. And we got to always be learning because things will change. Remember, I told you I had an internet company that built websites years ago. And what happened to that company was people ended up learning how to build it themselves. And now you don't even need to have somebody build it themselves. You have Wix. I mean, I use Kajabi to run my business. We used to spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on our membership site just to keep it going. Kajabi does it for a couple $100 a month. I mean, it's amazing, the technology. But the problem is, if you are an internet web designer from the 2000s, late 2000s, you were getting compensated heavily. But now those jobs have disappeared. Why? The level of the problem isn't significant anymore. It was replaced by systems and technology. So we got to continually learn, continually build our expertise, and continually look for new problems to solve. Those same people that were web designers there, they got stuck and didn't continue their education, okay, their street education. They could have went out there and learned internet marketing and how to build lists and so many other things. The ones that got stuck got passed by, unfortunately. And I feel that that's why there's a lot of people that are jaded in the world, because they've been sold this bill of goods through traditional education that, okay, I've finished my traditional education, so now I'm able to move on. I don't need to do anything else. I'm set. And nobody likes change. But the truth is, the only constant is change, and things are going to change, and the market is fickle. And if you don't keep moving, if you don't keep learning, watching programs like this, listening to podcasts, doing these type of things, you get left behind. And that's just a fact, right? There's few people that settle into what they're going to do and do it forever. In fact, there's a lot of people like doctors and lawyers that went out there and thought that was going to be their life's dream. And once they start doing it, they're not really happy and they're stuck in it, and they can't find peace because they're stuck in it. So adding value, continually learning is really important. The next point is really critical too, is that we need you more than ever. The world is getting more negative than it's ever been. And we need your expertise. We need you to put the effort in there to work on contribution. Contributing is what it's all about, right? So at one point, you're going to be in the accumulation phase where you need money. And then you're going to need to contribute. So one of the reasons I'm back doing this is because I believe this energy is valuable. Some people won't get it. Like I said, some people will watch this video and will say, oh my gosh, or listen to the podcast and go, that Good Morning's horrible. I've got it for years. But there's thousands of people around the world that love it and connect with me every day as I coach them. So I'm okay with that. Why am I doing YouTube and why am I doing this podcast again? Because I want to contribute. The world needs this more than ever. They need a different message. They need to know there is a different system out there, that people are doing things differently. I don't have millions of people on YouTube. I have 20,000. It took years to grow that. I don't have millions of people listening to podcasts. I have a small amount, 1,300. Remember, came with me in 2009. You don't need millions. You need to be an expert to a small group of people that are willing to compensate you, and you can be free. And that's what I think is so important. But then once you become free, it's then about contribution. How can you give back? How can you really help? Look, the truth is I support, educate, and connect professional experts. That's what I do. You didn't hear the help word. I don't want to help anybody in my business. That's not why people come and pay me. They come to grow. They come to get connected with other people. But I do want to help. I've got a soft spot in my place for single mothers. My mother raised me for years single with no money. I have a soft spot for abused women. You'll hear that story one day about the letter that I got from somebody that listened to my podcast in Europe that had to escape a horrendous situation. You know, those things motivate me. So contribution is critical. So being an expert, it's critical that we need you. And that's what's important. Okay? So contribution's important. So understand that for me, I'm back in the game. And I appreciate you. If you want to hear more than this, on Mondays, I'm going to experiment with it on YouTube. I'm putting it back up on the podcast. The idea is to give you enough energy to get your week started right and really help you focus on the things that you need to do, right? And the things that will get you to the next level, and share the experiences that I've had in my 53 years, from running businesses in corporate when I was younger to escaping that and building a life of freedom and energy. You know, it's a great time to be alive. I know there's a lot of noise and distraction out there, but it's truly a great time to be alive. You just got to get the right information. And if you're enjoying this, then subscribe. Become a part of this energetic group of community that we have as we make the world a better place. All right? So let's go do it to it. I love you. Go have a great one. Until the next Motivational Monday, do it to it. And I'll see you next week right here on the Morning Coach Motivational Monday podcast. Have a great one. Thanks so much for being here.